When set with the task of creating an opening sequence, key skills are required to turn us from beginners to almost semi-pros. The first of these skills is the ability to be able to set up, function, and understand how to use a camera. The second of these skills is the ability to use editing equipment and take what we used in the production process to create a smooth sequence. The final skill is general pre-production process, such as organising the set, props, costume, and getting ready for the actual shoot day. We had completed a series of workshops to help introduce us to these skills. The first workshop consisted of learning how to come up with a creative idea and how to find inspiration. One of the concepts explored was the idea of previous memories inspiring new ideas. This was clearly demonstrated through a Darren Brown video, where he hid symbols in advertisers' journeys, and then had them subconsciously think that it is a new logo concept. As someone who often writes short stories, it was a big eye-opener for me, and also made me realise that I shouldn't stress about thinking of a totally new idea, but take inspiration from what I've seen before. This workshop helped us push our limits, play to our strengths, and get the best idea possible. Our next workshop taught us the basics of how to set up a Blackmagic camera and tripod. This was one of the most useful workshops for me, as I had never set up a camera like this before, and it gave us all the independence to be able to set up the equipment on our own. We then also learned the basics such as zooming, focus, and white balance. It was these skills that created the foundation for our production skills, and we were able to carry and develop these throughout our production process. Our next workshop put our skills from the first camera workshop into practice. This workshop also included learning key rules within the production process, such as the 180-degree rule and the rule of thirds, neither of which I had heard of before or even considered before. We then got stuck into filming our own action sequences with varying shot types. This really helped us develop our skills, as it put what we had learned into context, and was probably the biggest learning curve, as it let us naturally discover what does and doesn't work, which, again, gave us more independence. We were then taught the basics of using Adobe Premiere Pro editing equipment, using our shots from the previous workshop. We were shown how to cut together our shots to make them as smooth as possible. Looking back on it now, it isn't the best piece of editing, but these mistakes were needed to be made so that we could improve next time, and I can confidently tell you now, we definitely did improve. Our next filming and editing workshop took what we had learnt from the previous workshops and developed it even more. We were set a task of not only filming an action scene, but this time with dialogue. Filming this sequence was much easier, since we had learnt from our mistakes of last time and knew what shots would look good. We then proceeded to edit the sequence, which, again, was so much easier. This was real evidence to us that we have to take our time during filming to make the editing process so much smoother. Our editing skills also developed even more, as we were taught how to edit audio and add in titles. Even looking back today, I am still very proud of this sequence, as it is a drastic improvement from our last piece of editing.
Come on! Come with me. I'm not going with you. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Stop being a baby. I'm not being a baby, I'm just being practical. Oh, you're never any fun!
Our test shoot was also very useful to our development, as it gave us an existing idea of what we would want our actual sequence to look like. However, we found that it made us overthink a lot about our concept, which did make things more difficult at times, but overall helped us develop further in the planning stage. By this point, our skills had developed enough that we were able to start the pre-production process. This included our storyboard, props, etc. This is a learning curve in itself, as pre-production research is different than research for any other subject. Also, we learnt that it is probably best to get someone with art experience to do the storyboard, as my stickmen efforts weren't really impressive. In terms of the pre-production research, we considered three things: stereotype, similar products, and necessities. For example, the costumes were stereotyped, the location was inspired by images on Google, and the gun was a necessity for our plot. With these three things in mind, it meant that we weren't researching blind. We were able to get inspiration for new ideas, and we kept to the task at hand. The casting of our sequence was very important to us, as a representation of characters was one of the key points of our plotline. We were able to cast Kendra as our lead female, and James and Bodders as our men in the scene. Our original plan was to cast Tom in our sequence, but unfortunately he was unavailable, so Bodders kindly volunteered to step in. Our location was a no-brainer for us, as we knew we wanted a dingy basement-like location, and what better than an actual basement? We also liked it as it would be incredibly easy to dress and was close to our main school. We also found that with this location came elements such as a table football that we would either be able to use in our shots or as extra pieces of set. Thanks to our skills we had developed, our shoot day was a breeze. It was so fun to be able to see what we had been planning for so long finally come to life. It felt so rewarding to be able to independently control every element of the day, which made it all run seamlessly, and we were so happy with what we had throughout the day. In comparison to our novice skills back at the beginning, we had come so far, and it was practically second nature to us by this point. The final stage of it all was the editing process. I had naturally taken the lead on this, as I had seemed to have been the most improved and had grasped the program the best. The rest of the team helped me throughout the process and took over some of the elements when they were free. This was the point in which we chose our title and, after a lot of editing, our sequence was ready. Looking back, without the foundation skills developed in the workshops, we wouldn't have been able to create the final product that we have today, and I'm really proud of what we have achieved as a group. I know that in our next filming task, we will be able to take these skills and use them effectively, and I can't wait to see what we produce next. Thank you for watching.